Hi, good morning. Happy New Year. My name is Megan. It is January 1st of 2021, and this is the start of my very first reading vlog. I've been watching BookTube for forever, it seems, and I've gotten so many recommendations from the people that I watch that I figured, why the heck not? It is very early in the morning. I'm headed to the gym. But I will start listening to my first audiobook of the year. It's going to be Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson, narrated by Bahni Turpin. So, once I get back home and showered and presentable, maybe, I will check back in and let you know how far I got. It'll be good to get to know you. Have a good one.
Okay, so it is many hours later. I have showered, washed my hair, and we had lunch. So it's afternoon. Just wanted to give you a brief update. I did get about a third of the way through Allegedly. For those of you unaware, I'm going to read from the blurb. So Allegedly is, again, by Tiffany D. Jackson. The audiobook is performed by Bahni Turpin, who's one of my favorite audiobook narrators. So Allegedly begins like this. Mary B. Addison killed a baby. Allegedly. She didn't say much in that first interview with detectives, and the media filled in the only blanks that mattered. A white baby had died while under the care of a church-going black woman and her 9-year-old daughter. The public convicted Mary, and the jury made it official. But did she do it? She wouldn't say. This is a very twisty tale of Mary's perspective on the events of her life. There are things that the public doesn't know. There are things that the reader doesn't know. And the tension in this novel, in the prose, is phenomenal. I've heard nothing but great things about Tiffany D. Jackson's most recent release, Grown, but figured I'd start with the backlist as I had this one on my shelf already. The other item I'm in the midst of is Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. Sorry about the glare. That's a library book. Those of you who are unaware, this is a pre-Columbian exploration of Central America, and my gosh, that starts off with a bang. I read this at a time when I needed a distraction, or I started reading this when I needed a distraction, and it certainly did that. I have been drawn in. I'm about halfway through, and can't wait to get back to this. So I'll check in later.
Good evening, all. I have reached the end of my day and have only just begun reading my portion today of Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse. I will tuck in for the evening and try to finish this up. I have about 70 pages left, and I will let you know how that turns out in the morning. After that, I'll probably reach for something on my tablet. Seanan McGuire's Across the Green Grass Fields, which comes out next week, and I'm looking forward to that. Not a horse girl necessarily. They are very large animals, quite intimidating, but looking to see what Reagan gets up to in her tale for the Wayward Children series. So I bid you all adieu, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye. Good morning. It is Saturday. I am well caffeinated. It's about 10 in the morning. Not that you can tell from the dark shadows under my eyes. But I am trying to get into reading today, and it's just not happening. I started work on my computer to set up my reading trackers, and I fell down the BookTube wormhole, trying to update things for my Bookstagram for the new year and starting to track my 2021 reads. So good news is I finished Black Sun by Rebecca Roanhorse last night. That will get a full 5 stars. There is nothing that I feel could have increased my enjoyment while I was reading this book. As I mentioned, I started it at a time when I desperately needed a distraction. And it sucked me in and removed me from where I was sitting and didn't want to be. So the next item on the list will be, hopefully I can bring this up without wrecking the balance of light, maybe. Okay, so I had to move because I could not get the light to balance at all. Next on my list is Across the Green Grass Fields by Seanan McGuire. I have this as an ARC. I work for a library, so I do have access to review copies through NetGalley and Edelweiss. So I read that through my ancient Nook, which I load my ebooks and then put it right back into airplane mode. Otherwise it gets really confused. But it works for me, and it means that I get these ebook copies, which I fell into in April of last year for obvious reasons. My library was closed, and while I was thankful and lucky enough to be working remotely, I was unable to access new reading materials from my physical library. So I got onto NetGalley, I started making requests, and so Seanan McGuire is one of my pretty much auto-read authors. Even if I haven't purchased them all, I tend to take them out of the library, as with most of my books. But Across the Green Grass Fields will be my next read. I will let you know when I get into that one. I'll see you later. All right, midpoint through the day and halfway through Across the Green Grass Fields by Seanan McGuire. This is a novella. It's about 175 pages, so not a whole lot to brag about, but I am enjoying it so far. What I did not realize was the main character is intersex, which I believe I probably had heard at one point, but forgot about until I started reading the novel. So it's an interesting perspective that we don't get in a whole lot of novels. I do trust Seanan McGuire for her representation of such characters. We have seen characters of different genders and sexualities throughout the Wayward Children series, and I believe through some of her other writing as well. So while I don't know for sure if this is positive representation for others who are intersex, it seems to be a truthful and respectful representation of such an individual. The other thing that I've decided to do within this reading vlog, we'll see how it goes, is to incorporate the questions for the BookTube Newbie Tag in some of these clips to make the clips a little bit longer and to provide some additional content. So we'll do the first two questions here, and then in my next set, I will likely do a couple more. So the first question in this tag is, why did you start this channel? The easiest answer is because I've been watching BookTube for probably 4 or 5 years now, and had tried to start a channel previously and was too nervous and self-conscious. So it is 2021. I'm 30 years old. I'm a cancer survivor, and why not? I like talking about books with people. I feel that I am knowledgeable about some sorts of books, but I also love to learn more about books and be exposed to different things in different genres, in different formats. So the more I can engage, the more I can learn, and maybe others can learn from me as well. The second question in this tag is, what are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? And I'm a little bit stumped on this because I'm a white lady, married with no kids. As I said, I read pretty much everything from middle grade to adult, across genres. Not so much literary fiction, actually, but definitely genre reading. And I'll pick up just about anything that somebody recommends. And I'm looking to engage. So we'll see what sorts of things I can come up with, what content I start creating, and I will just continue reading and see what conversations come up. So let me go finish my Seanan McGuire, and I will check back in once that is finished. Okay, after finishing Across the Green Grass Fields, this will likely get a 4.5 stars from me, rounded down on Goodreads to 4 stars. There was nothing wrong with this. Again, I liked the representation. I found the humanity in this story, as well as with most of Seanan McGuire's stories to be at the forefront. And, you know, that's what connects us as readers, as humans. And so overall, I appreciate that. It just wasn't 100% my type of story. And it may have been a little bit short. If this were the final installment of the Wayward Children series, which I believe it has been marketed as such, I'm a little sad that's where it left off. I'm looking forward to rereading the series, but I'm a little sad that that's the end of everything. So next up, I plan to get back to my audiobook of Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. My next physical read that I plan to pick up is Elatsoe by Darcie Little Badger. This is the first, believe this is Darcie's debut novel, but I have read some short stories by the author in an anthology or two. So I'm looking forward to see what this author can do in long form. And for our BookTube Newbie Tag questions, number 3 is, what are you most excited for about this new channel? And again, it'll be the engagement that I get, the conversations that I'm able to have, and the recommendations that will continue to come in from the BookTube that I consume, the items that I come across at my place of employment, and, you know, hopefully conversations with you guys. So that's what I'm most excited about. And question number 4 is, why do you love reading? I've been reading ever since I can remember doing so. Was having a conversation recently with my mom, who didn't know that I could read before I started kindergarten. I don't remember learning to read. My grandmom was a preschool teacher for many years, and she looked at my mom after babysitting one day and said, "Your kid can read." And my mom's like, "No, she can't. She's 5." But apparently I could, and I just never stopped. The first thing that I would always do coming home from school, from college for like a winter break, would be to go to the library and check out a stack of books that I would never actually have enough time to read, because I was starved for that during my undergrad when I really didn't have the time to do so. The first thing I did when I moved into my first like grown-up apartment was go and get my library card. I didn't have my state driver's license yet, so I brought my old driver's license and my lease and said, "Please, I live here. May I have a library card?" And, you know, it's something that I do. It's something that I love. It expands my own horizons, even when I am unable to view the world as another person. And I feel that some of the characters that I get to read from provides a little bit of that perspective. I recognize that I'll never understand someone else's point of view. All I have is my own. But reading from a different character, reading about or from a character with which I have little to nothing in common, can do nothing but expand my own perspective in whatever small way it's able to. And I hope that allows me to be more empathic, to just better myself. So I will be off and back in a few. Good evening. It is currently about 8:30. I have been sitting in my chair, staring at the wall, listening to the final moments of the audiobook for Allegedly by Tiffany D. Jackson. This book was a huge surprise to me. This book was super dark, and I loved every moment of it. So the audiobook was performed by Bahni Turpin, who I mentioned is one of my favorite audiobook narrators. Last year, I listened to her performance for Grady Hendrix, The Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires, and that just blew me away. That's another audiobook that's like 16 hours long, and I read it in 3 sittings. And it's because of the performance that Bahni Turpin provides in the narration. So I would certainly recommend the story. I would recommend the audiobook. And I cannot wait to read more from Tiffany D. Jackson. Next up on the list is... All right, I'm having trouble because I said it was going to be Elatsoe by Darcie Little Badger. And this is obviously a library book and will need to go back relatively soon because I have a revolving stack of books that sit next to my coffee table in order of return date. And that's coming due after a few renewals. The other thing that I need to read, and I have a time limit on, is Kristin Cashore's Graceling. This is a title that I never read. She has a new book in this universe coming out in January. And we are reading this with a book club in which I participate. This book club is through the lovely staff at the East City Bookshop in Washington, D.C., as well as many other book clubs. They shifted to an online environment due to the coronavirus pandemic. So while I am not located anywhere near Washington, D.C., I have been lucky enough to come in contact with the lovely folks at this location, and they selected this book for this month. The meeting is next Friday. So I have about 6 days to read it. It should not take me 6 days to read it, but I really want to read this one. So we'll see what happens. As far as ebooks, I just received my hold for Kill Creek by Scott Thomas. We'll see how that goes. I do have 3 weeks on that, so it's probably not at the top of the list. As far as audiobooks, another library pick. This is coming from Libby, as was Allegedly, and as is the ebook for Kill Creek. It's all through Libby. Or Overdrive, whatever you prefer to use, but it's through my library. I will be listening to The Rest is Noise. This is a nonfiction text by Alex Ross and narrated by Grover Gardner. I'm reading my screen behind my phone. And it is about the music of the 20th century. So this was a book I was supposed to read in my junior year of college, and I did not read it. I had it all sectioned out, but I never had time to read during undergrad. So I still have it on my shelf, and now I have it as an audiobook, and I will pick it up and I will pretend that it's a podcast, a 23-hour long podcast about 20th century music, which is really cool and scientific. So I'm looking forward to it in my nerdy little heart of hearts. It's just always been really intimidating as prose, as reading it. So that's where we're going. As for the BookTube Newbie Tag, I may as well do the last 3 and then I'll be off the hook for tomorrow, right? So question number 5 is, what book or book series got you into reading? The true answer to this question is a series of editions called The Great Illustrated Classics. I got these out of my public library as a child. I took them out from the school library from grade school, and it was a huge series of classic novels. They were abridged and the language was adjusted, and every other page had a full page picture. I see them every once in a while. They come up in circulation at the library, and it just makes me smile because of the style of the published book, every other page being a picture. You could read them really quickly. And I can't say that I always understood all of the words or all of the stories, even if they were dumbed down. But I felt really accomplished as a little second grade reader. And then beyond that, the other obvious answer, which started in 3rd grade, I think I was introduced to the Magic Treehouse series. So very formative. Again, another series that continuously comes across the circulation desk at the library, and it makes me smile. And I'm amazed at Mary Pope Osborne and how much she and her team have been able to create within this series, including all their nonfiction stuff. That's just teaching the kids about the science or the history that Magic Treehouse brings forward in the books. It's really cool. Question number 6 is, what questions would you ask your favorite booktuber? I'm sure this would be a question in jest for most people, but like, really, can I be your friend? There are so many booktubers and a couple of like YouTubers generally, and they just seem like really cool people, you know? It's nice to see the real life of some of these folks when you see the vlogs of their life, in addition to the, you know, strictly YouTube content that they've provided. A lot of them are my age, obviously the people that I follow, because those are the people that I feel most drawn to, that I relate with. So it would just be cool to like be able to chat with these folks about what they're reading, and also like, how do you keep a schedule? I just started grad school in the fall, so at the end of January I will be starting my second semester, and I was able to read during the first semester. Was also like introductory courses, so there was work, but I'm sure there's going to be more work in coming times. Like, how do you keep the energy along with working and going to school and doing whatever you're supposed to be doing and reading in order to make content, right? Finally, what challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? From my previous answer, scheduling and having a regular time that I would be able to create content, edit, and post, as well as engaging with anyone who chooses to do so, and not getting in my head about it. So I will sign off for the evening. I'll see you Sunday. It is a new day and I'm wearing a new sweatshirt. So it is Sunday, about 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I have had a slow start to reading today, which is not entirely accurate because I did read for about 2 hours listening to my audiobook of The Rest is Noise by Alex Ross. We went for a nice 2.5 mile walk through our neighborhood, and where we live, there's a bridge that they built in a pedestrian's path. It's about 3 miles across, and we only went partway across and then came back home again. Since then, my partner, whose name is Matthew, is out now to pick up lunch. So welcome to my living room. We haven't seen this before because this is where he works. His desk is over there, and I don't like to disturb him more than I usually do, which is often. In any case, I was able to sit and start and finish a novella titled The Test by Sylvain Neuvel, I believe is the pronunciation of this author's name, hope. This was the first I have read from Sylvain Neuvel, and it packed a punch in about 100 pages. I was very impressed. I've heard great things about their Themis Files series. I've heard really good things about the audio, so I think that's probably what I've been holding out on. And that will likely get probably a solid 4-star from me, based on themes and such. Apologies for the abrupt background change. The squeak you heard in the previous clip was Matthew getting home with lunch. So we are now after lunch. It was delicious. I had a grain bowl. And I was talking about The Test by Sylvain Neuvel. So the only thing you want to know about this going in is that it is about an Iranian man who is in the midst of taking the British citizenship test, and something goes horribly awry. it was, as I mentioned, really fast paced at about 100 pages, and definitely worth the read. So I don't think that I'm going to get to finish anything else today. I would like to maybe put together another video of my week's reading, and I hope to pick up maybe a weekday reading vlog, maybe. We'll see, because it's a long video already. And I will catch you next time. Bye.